Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android, Spotify, or the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to Off the Floor. Link right here in the description. You can bypass the $1 Apple upcharge. Subscribe for $2.99 per month. Cancel at any time. This is the place to hang out with other Heat fans. Also get exclusive content and stage shows from us. Also check out the great sponsors of the Five Reasons Sports Network. Includes Underdog Fantasy. Use the code 5 FIVE. Get up to $1,000 in bonus play. You can play players over or under. It's a shame that you can't play ejections over or under here, but you can do just about everything else there at underdogfantasy.com. So check it out. Use the code 5 to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Here's the deal. You must be at least 18 or 19 in Alabama or Nebraska, 19 in Colorado for some games, 21 in Massachusetts or Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates, of which Florida is one of them. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. And now, today's episode.
Down the Biscayne. Yikes. Five on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds. Just like Bucker said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the flow playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Well, welcome back to Fight on the Floor. No, Five on the Floor. Did not go live tonight. Maybe we should have done that. But anyway, I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at Five Reasons Sports. We got Brady Hawk. You can follow at Brady Hawk 305. Big win for the Miami Heat. Surprising win for the Miami Heat. Second night of a back-to-back after a disappointing performance in Atlanta. They rallied to beat a very good young Houston team on the road. They do it after falling behind early. First, the third quarter, letting the game get away early again. It appeared in the fourth quarter, rallying back, particularly when Tyler Herro and Nikola Jovic, the two stars of this game, but we'll get to it in a second, came back in. But what everybody's going to be talking about is the skirmish towards the end, and not just who was involved in it, but how certain Heat players reacted to it. I think Tyler Herro, as we speak, is still smiling and nodding and laughing, and Nikola Jovic along with him. This felt like the kind of game that Erik Spoelstra is going to absolutely love. And in a season which has been tough to love a lot, to at least stay over 500, to go to 16-14, I've reported the Heat are very confident that Jimmy Butler will be back for the game on the first at home against the Pelicans, start of a 3-game homestand. And he was in the facility playing dominoes with his agent, Bernie Lee. So again, seems like things are okay between the Heat and Jimmy right now, as we've reported, other than the contract that they got to deal with at some point. But this is the kind of game that I think they're going to be very happy with. Spo's going to be very happy with. And we'll talk about how this started and who got involved in it. And I'll let you go through it a little bit, because I was sitting there reading off stats when this happened on playback. And so I kind of turned my head and didn't really see the start. But it has felt to me in a lot of ways that this team has been rallying behind Tyler of late, kind of feeding off his energy and their belief in him being able to kind of lead them at the end, like they have with Jimmy in the past. That there's been some of that stuff going on with Tyler right now. He's really alphaed this thing up, which I know, Alex would hate me saying that, but he was involved in this. So go through, from your perception, what happened, and then, honestly, the best thing that Terry Rozier did all night.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like they were just totally the Rockets were just totally out of sorts after the 5-second violation. I mean, Miami, had momentum after Jovic hit the 3. They're up 4. They get the 5-second violation. Van Vliet gets tossed because he's, bumps the ref after complaining. Udoka goes. And then obviously Tyler and Ahmed are pretty much guarding each other. And it felt like they were just they were jawing at Tyler somewhat all night. And Tyler didn't even give them the time of day. It was kind of one of those games where Tyler was just giving them buckets and just running down the other side of the court, didn't say a word. And then obviously we know what happens where Ahmed throws him to the floor. And as you said, Terry Rozier tonight, if they lost this game, we were probably going to be doing a lot of Terry Rozier talk once again. 0 for 8 from 3, missed some, close layups. And I don't care one bit. I'm not going to mention it. That's the last time I mentioned it on this podcast, because I'm not bringing it up. Because the fact that, sometimes you do need to, if a guy's struggling, you at least want to see him engaged And that's the most like top moment of engagement you could possibly get, where he runs in off the inbound and jumps in on the pile on top of Thompson to kind of have Tyler's back. Like, you have Jovic right when it's happening, dart over because he wants to, try to break it up, and he's in the mix. You have the coaches kind of all running out there. Haywood's in the mix, but nobody did it like Terry. Like, Terry diving in the middle of it all on top of it. On a night where everybody seemed like they were kind of annoyed with Terry, where everybody's like bringing up like the trade and the trade deadline coming up, all that got thrown out the window. It was like just seeing a guy, all of a sudden you're seeing cultures get thrown at him. But in reality, it really was a weird situation that they were just that annoyed. It feels like there was, I will say, like a lot of carryover from previous games because they have been having some struggles. It felt like it all led up to that point. I'll say the last thing I'll say when just like watching different people, because you have to go back and just watch other people's reaction on the court. Spo, you mentioned Spo loving this. Just watch Spo on that play, where you have all these coaches and assistant coaches, everybody's running onto the court in chaos, like so scared, and Spo's just standing there still as ever, just letting it play out, like
a proud parent, basically.
He knows, he's been here before. He knows what this is. Like, this is nothing new for him, and just watching it. Karan even did like a little bit of a back roll. I think he did a somersault in the middle of it all. So,
well, Karan is the one guy, as I said on playback, is the one guy in the Heat organization you don't mess with. You know what Karan went through in his life just to get where he's at. Read his book sometime. You don't mess with him, and he did. And Spo did look, he looked like sort of quietly pleased with the entire situation. And Jovic, we know he's about this. Like, we've seen this before. And he's talking talking Tyler up, and you can just see Tyler feeding off of it. And it really, the fact that they won the game. See, that's the thing. Like the fight, Terry being involved in it, because honestly, you're right. Like, otherwise, we would have been talking about Terry, because I thought he single-handedly was costing them this game. Like, he was unplayable, but played.
Whoa! I said this the last time we were bringing it up.
I'm trying not to, man, but I gotta read. I mean, he was 6 of 19, 0 of 8 for 3, and that was not the worst part. Like, that there was that he just sailed a pass out of bounds. There was another. I mean, I don't know what this was. We'll say though, all is forgiven for one evening because he backed up his teammates. It's all fine. And this was a night that, again, they didn't have Jimmy, they didn't have Duncan. He started, and we'll get to the players of the game here in a second. He started Kevin, and God bless his heart, but Kevin struggled. Kevin was they won a game against Houston with Rozier, Bam, again 4 of 12. Rozier, Bam, and Kevin combining to shoot, what was it, 5, 11, 30, 11 for 38. 3 starters shot 11 for 38, and they won the game. And that's impressive. And they did it with I'm going to get into the 2 stars of the game tonight, but they got big minutes from Highsmith. I thought Haywood was great tonight. It wasn't just the shooting, but just in general. He also got a little involved in the skirmish there. But let's get to it. Let's get to I'm going to give co-players of the game tonight. I think 2 guys deserve it.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game. And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night.
Kill it. There we go. Okay, there we go. I always like to give Lynette more credit here because, again, she joins us on all the playbacks and on Discord and everywhere else. Co-players of the game tonight, because they don't win without either of these guys. I thought that Spo waited too long to put both of them back in the 4th. This is the thing we used to talk about with Jimmy. I thought Tyler was going to come back in after the timeout. He waited till again after that. Tyler ends up playing 37 minutes, 10 of 17 from the floor, another plus 50% game. Another plus 50% game. And I know that Maxey is starting to get some talk now because he's had a good couple of weeks for a bad team. If Maxey makes the All-Star team over Tyler, that is bad. Okay. I mean, he's in a battle with Cade Cunningham and some others that I can understand the kind of seasons they're having, but Tyler has consistently been pushing out these plus 50% games. But to me, and I'll get to the other guy in a second, It's the way he's reading the game. It is just like some of those passes. That one to where he drew three going to his right and threw the lob up to Kalel. And we talked about that chemistry that's building with there. That's a three-man group I want to see more of. I want to see where with Jovic and with Herro. Tyler ends up tonight with 27, 6, and 9. 27, 6, and 9. This is becoming commonplace. And Jovic off the bench probably should have started, but I guess it didn't end up mattering. 31 minutes, 18, 7, and 6. And he made the threes at the end that really pushed them into the forefront of this. These are the times where we're like, okay, maybe the Heat future doesn't look so bad. I know we go back and forth on this, but I mean, Nico has not played badly this year. It's just been hard to find him a role. They were both great tonight.
It was hard to find Nico a role, but he's found one. And that's kind of what you were getting at there. Like, I really feel like there's something brewing here. As you mentioned, I really am a big fan of the Jovic front court in itself. You add Tyler into that, and it just makes it so much better. Like, you have two guys that play off Tyler, probably two of the best on the team, as we've seen earlier in the season. Like you mentioned with the lobs to wear, and just some of the spacing from Jovic. I'll start with Jovic. I'll say this. It's actually funny because I was tweeting this as the fight broke out, and I was talking about Jovic's shot change, and I was like, okay, this doesn't matter anymore. Let me tuck this in for later. But he really has changed his shot. Like, he's kind of done this thing where if you closely watch the way his base and the way he steps into his shot, he almost steps into the shot before he catches. So he's totally into a rhythm, and it allows him to get it off quicker. But the key word I don't even care about the quickness. I really care about the rhythm part, because that's always been the part for him where it's like his misses were always like either too strong, too short. It was like never a consistent miss, where he's kind of found his shot a little bit. Like, and he's confident right now. And I think it has a lot to do with the role. I think they've kind of found a spot for him where he's not just being thrown out in random lineups. And it's just allowing him to play really good basketball. I thought his best play, you mentioned the pass from Tyler. He had one where Jovic is on the bottom block, and he's just posting up, and he just turns and just whips a pass to the weak side corner to Haywood. And Haywood hits an open three. And it's like, how did he even get that there? And that's kind of the stuff we talked about early, when they drafted him, and early in his rookie year was like, that's what you ultimately wanted to see him get to. And the fact that he's doing it at a high level right now, I mean, that matters. And then obviously the clutch shot late, where he kind of steps, as I was just kind of pointing out, steps right into that three, pulls it with confidence, and they go up 4. He just continues to play well, and shout out to the role. And then on Tyler's side, you're like, you don't even know what to say anymore about the role he's playing, because he's legitimately seeing 2 to 3, as you mentioned. You mentioned the play where he saw 3, but every play he's seeing 2. There's not a play where there's a ball screen that he wasn't seeing 2, and consistently making the right reads, flowing into, getting to the rim, getting to the line. Then you have the ability where he's not getting as many mid ranges as we've noted. Late in games, he does. Like, I said it last game, but it gets to a point here where you notice him, like, under 5 minutes to go in a close game, he knows that's a good shot for him, so he'll take it. He had the little step back to his left over Dylan Brooks. He had the right lane pull up over the top, a little bit later. He's going to work that mid range when he needs to, especially in a 1-point game where you kind of get the lead back, and that's what we saw happen. But the passing, the control of the game. I remember in the second year where we talked about point Tyler Herro, and then we were like, okay, we're done with that. He's a shooting guard. We got to get him off the ball. And then we came into this season. We said, okay, he needs to be more off the ball. He needs to be more spot ups and all this stuff. This guy's basically their point guard. And I know we don't talk positions, but if we're talking positions, this guy has been their point guard. He has been their shooting guard as well. He's been pretty much both, but he's controlling the ball, dribbling down, setting them up, knowing when it's his time to create for himself and knowing when it's time to create for others. And that's a hard job to do. It really is. He deserves a ton of credit for it, and doing it efficiently, like 27 points on 10 of 17 shooting with that type of attention and that type of duty to kind of set everybody else up consistently. It was just a great game from him. I thought that was one of Tyler's better games of the season, just in terms of his poise. But I'm glad you said co-players of the game, because Jovic was pretty dang good too.
Well, this is why I think this was their best win of the season. I just tweeted this out. I mean, that you got 3 starters who went 11 for 38. Okay. And that's Bam, Love, and Rozier. And you have Butler and Duncan out, second night of a back-to-back. And you're down to start the third, and you're down to start the fourth. And there were times that this game could have gotten away. And you're led back by 2 guys under 25. I mean, to me, that's their best win of the season. Is it fair to say, and are people going to get on me about this? And I'll try to explain it after I present it to you. Are Tyler and Nico their most offensively gifted players?
That makes sense. Probably. I mean, there's certain guys that I think have to kind of get it out. Like Bam's obviously not like the most offensively gifted. Terry is a showman, but I don't know if he's most offensively gifted. I think he's a good creator. So I do think if you go down the line, he probably I don't think that's crazy because Jovic, I think what you're getting at, has the the creator ability, the passing ability, just the mismatch ability, and all that stuff in him, and he could eventually get to. And Tyler is no doubt, like Tyler's at that stage right now where you can't negate that. So unless we're forgetting about somebody, I mean, maybe
we're forgetting about 22, but I'm asking this question,
Well,
and I know that's what people are going to challenge me on because Jimmy's gifts offensively are different. Like Jimmy to me has made himself into an elite offensive player at time by will. There's just sheer will and IQ
and work
and work and will. And this is not a slight to Jimmy. But when Jimmy came into the NBA, he was not an offensively gifted player. He didn't even start a game as a rookie. He didn't come into the NBA, and people thought he was a defender. Like that's what he was. He was a defender, was not a great 3-point shooter who would give you some mid-range offense. Like he did not come in. Jovic, I mean, we're talking about at his age, has an ability to kind of see the floor. You talk about that whip pass he made. Like that's not a pass Jimmy makes. You know what I'm saying? Like Jimmy, to me, that's the separation. Like we talk about the things Jimmy's done, which are remarkable. And again, third best player in Heat history, third most important player in Heat history, all those kind of things. Okay. But the difference when they kind of sort of made Jimmy, when Spo sat down with us at Media Day, when they brought in Jimmy in 2019 and talked about kind of him being LeBron light, like putting the ball in his hands a little bit more. The core difference is not, people talk about, well, LeBron's 6'8", and he's, all the rest, everything else physically about LeBron. The core difference between to me is just LeBron's passing ability, that ability to see the floor, to read things. That's not, Jimmy is not an elite passer. He's good enough. Okay. He's not an elite passer. Jovic has that. It's just a natural, innate skill for him. And I just, that's why we keep saying, like, it's disappointing they haven't found the right spot for Nico, but it's like, it's there somewhere and it's worth. And that's my concern about trading him is maybe if the Heat can't find it, nobody can. But I'm worried about him blossoming when sort of the light goes on for him in the right role somewhere else potentially. And it's why I was more inclined to hold on to him than Jaquez if we're talking about a trade scenario, because I think there's more overall upside for Nico in that way. But anyway, it's a conversation that I know people are going to argue with me about, but I'm not trying to disparage Jimmy, who obviously has put up 56 points when it's mattered the most. But I'm just talking about just pure innate offensive ability. I'd be curious what people think about that. Tyler is the most offensively gifted player on the team. I don't think there's any question at this point. Level of skill we're talking about here, and all the stuff that used to get talked about. He's a screen merchant and all the rest of that crap. Like, I don't care how he's getting into these situations. He's getting himself into these situations. He has every fake in the book now. He knows. You talked about last year about how he sort of learned how to back off when he got doubled, take that extra half step back to be able to see the floor better. Like, that's innate for him now. Like, he is, I think Tyler deserves enormous credit for the amount of work that he's put in when a lot of us thought there was nothing else there. And I'm one of those. And it's just pretty amazing. All right, let's get to the play of the day. You've already mentioned a couple. I don't even know which one we're going to go with at this point, but go ahead.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
I see that some people on Twitter are already challenging me and saying the Cleveland win was better. I think the Cleveland from start to finish was better. But I like what they had to do in this game to win it. They just outplayed the Cavs, I thought, in that game. And that was, which was surprising. And it was a really good performance. No question about it, especially their backcourt. They handled Garland and Mitchell in that game. But this was a game like I was sure they were losing. Like the circumstances before the game, the players that were out, the way that certain guys were shooting, and honestly, the way that I know I'm not supposed to mention this, but the way that Rozier was literally throwing the ball into the seats. and they didn't have another option. I know I'm not supposed to mention it. I'm sorry. I missed Drew Smith in those moments. I did. But they won it anyway. All right. We mentioned the hero to wear, the alley-oop. We mentioned the Jovic threes. We mentioned the Jovic whip pass to Highsmith. We mentioned the fight. Is there anything else we're missing here? Is there another play of the night?
Yeah, I'll say another one just because I want to give this guy credit. There was a play where another Tyler on ball play where he got downhill to the left side. He kind of passed it quickly out to like the strong side corner to Haywood. He hit a three. They go down the other end and it ends up like in a possession where Haywood gets a hand on a Van Vliet three by the end of it, and it ends up in a turnover and it goes the other direction. I don't even know if he stole it or blocked it, but he disrupted it and he ended up in a turnover. Shout out to Haywood tonight. I think we mentioned Tyler and Jovic a lot, but like Haywood has quietly been really consistent here in his, he's been starting a few games here. 6 of 9 shooting, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 1 block. I mean, he's just quietly been really consistent that he's, when they kind of kick it out to him in these little, short corner scenarios, like I just mentioned, he's making teams pay. Defensively, he's kind of his importance on the team has really taken a jump on the list here without Drew Smith. I know I'm looking around at this team. There was a lot of portions of this game. Like if they were to lose, I just thought the defense, the point of attack stuff really fell off late in the second half where they were not staying attached on screens. You saw Jalen Green and Van Vliet go on a couple runs there. Haywood, big credit to him. He's kind of the one who kind of closed a lot of those gaps. He just did a really good job defensively of just kind of creating turnovers. And they're going to lean on him more than ever now without Drew. They're going to kind of find a spot, no matter if it's starting or if it's off the bench. Like there was some games, where he wouldn't crack the rotation or he'd get kind of short stints. I don't think we're at that point now. I think he's in a stage right now where they have to play him for his defense. And if he's shooting at that level that he was tonight, he's even more playable. So shout out to him. He's just been really consistent.
All right. Let's get into this before we get into defending the house. Let's look ahead a little bit, just because the Heat are going to end this year, and probably we'll do an end of year episode here just to kind of encapsulate everything that's happened this season for the Heat, which for a lot of fans has not been enough, whether it's been transactions or playoff winning or any of the things that we were able to encapsulate last year. But they do end the year at 16-14. Obviously we're not halfway through the season yet, but we're getting closer. They are supposed to get Jimmy back. I've been assured, or the Heat have been assured, Jimmy's going to come back highly motivated. He seems to be over his sickness. Does look like he lost weight if you look at that video. And again, that video that's been circulating out there today, and that's what I'd heard, dealing with the illness here. But they've got a 3-game homestand. They don't play great teams on this homestand. They got a struggling Pelicans team that comes in. They've got the Jazz. What's the middle game? I'm sorry, Indiana, which has given them problems in the past, but not so much at home. They split the home and home with them last year, and then they go on this road trip, which is Sacramento, a team that's in disarray right now, but they always play tight games against them. Golden State, which is very up and down, a bad Utah team, a bad Portland team, and then 2 in LA against the Clippers and the Lakers. Like, this is not the most foreboding schedule coming up, and you're getting Jimmy going into it. And I think this is why, some around the Heat have been saying, don't panic yet, okay? Before we get to defending the house, we'll close that by one more conversation here about this fight. Do you feel better about this team now? I mean, are we overreacting to one game? Alex and I just did a podcast about how Atlanta looks like they've passed them athletically in the East, and now things are not so certain. You were in the play-in as of yesterday, and maybe I don't think they got out of it today. They're still sort of on the fringe of it. Do you feel any better about them going into this stretch?
I pretty much feel the same. I mean, nothing really changes off of this one game. Like, as much as I said not mentioning, like there's just still too many guys on this roster that we're consistently talking about struggling game after game where we're having the same discussions. So like, until you see like true turnarounds from a handful of these guys, I'm not gonna like fully change my thought process on this. Like, yeah, like there's some 3 home games here. But as we've seen, like any of these games they could drop. Like, I don't feel good about looking at any type of schedule. And also we're in a position here where you talk about Jimmy returning. A lot of this, we look at January, it's a packed house in January where there's no more of these 2-3 days off stuff where Jimmy could come back off of like a long break and just come out firing. Like, there's a lot of back-to-backs. Pretty much every game is one day off in between. So yeah, it's about health. It's about, Jimmy coming back and playing at a high level next to Tyler. Maybe that opens some more things up for Bam, just to, he doesn't have to keep playing this role man, make this tough midi shots that we keep watching night over night. And realistically, I mean, they just, the Kevin Love thing tonight, like not to go to the negative side of things, but like the Kevin Love thing tonight, I think in their head said, we have to go bigger against this Houston team. And I think they quickly found out you have to go quicker against this Houston team. The way that they were pushing and everything, like you said it, they should have played Nico from the jump. And I'm kind of glad they didn't for the case that they got to play next to Ware and play in that role. But it did feel like they needed a little more speed. There's some possessions there late, like as much as I don't even want to say it because I was going to say Burks. I thought Burks would be closing in this game for the shooting factor if Terry wasn't going to be on the ball. But if that was the case, Terry wouldn't have been inbounding and be able to body slam into the the fumble on the fight late. So and then the Jaime thing. I mean you've seen now like a little bit more Spo kind of getting up closer to a quicker leash. I mean, like you're just kind of seeing him get these quicker stints where he will lean into these other lineups and he's willing to close with Jovic. He's willing to close obviously with Haywood, as we know. But I think the closing with Jovic recently over Jaquez, which would usually be his spot, I think is telling that there's kind of been a turn here a little bit into who he's going to lean on. And honestly, it's just about finding the hot hand. I just don't think you can close with Jaquez right now. So like I said, I just think there's a lot of guys that we talked about struggling that are still kind of in that mode. And until we see like a total team turnaround where you kind of have these in and out games where guys start to play better, and it's not just the same guys we're talking about every night, Tyler, Nico, Jimmy, etc. I just pretty much feel the same.
All right. Defending the house. Just let's roll it. I'm going to read a couple tweets.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Well, the Heat did generally, so we'll just go to that. Let me read some tweets here because I just posted up this one tweet on how Spoelstra privately has got to be loving that scuffle, and by now he's probably spoken to the media already, so he has. So I'm sure that he probably has reflected that in his comments, but I'll give you a couple tweets here. From Andre Ricardo Trotman. I was ready to enjoy Ethan ripping Terry tonight for missing mad shots, but tonight Rozier is a real one. Have some grace on the pod, boys. That's what you said. Terry flew in there like a wombat for Tyler. There's another posting here of that famous picture in Denver where Andy Ellisberg is holding the players back at the elevator. By the way, I don't want to rain on the parade here. I'm going to go back and look. Everybody thought that these scuffles were going to kickstart various seasons for them. I'll have to look back. I don't remember the scuffle in Denver or the one in New Orleans last year leading to big runs. I'll take a look at them. I'll take a look. We'll see what they were in their next 10. That maybe I'll throw that on.
Pelicans one's interesting. I remember it wasn't Jimmy starting to play like really well, like in that post All-Star break stretch.
Yep.
So that one might have been a kickstart one.
Well, we'll see. But that was also featured on that show Starting Five that they. What was it? Yeah, was it called Starting Five that they did? The one the show on Netflix and about it was supposed to, and of course Jimmy had it for Najee Marshall, which by the way he just got another situation in the past couple of days. This one, so I'll check, but I'm not exactly sure that this led to what was the other one? Oh, the fight between Spo and Haslam, right? Like that. Not Spo and Haslam. Spo and Butler, right? That UD jumped in on.
I think that might have been the opposite, though. I remember they continued to struggle, and obviously they ended up going on a little bit of a run after that. But
right, so the Spo and Jimmy fight, we'll have to look at that one, and then there was the I give myself Jokic. The Jokic, the Jokic in Denver. Of course, that was Jokic and Markieff, right? And then there was the one between Butler and Najee last year. So I'll take a look. I don't remember any of these three things leading to anything great, but we can pretend tonight. We can pretend. Sure. And then this one, let's see what else. We got another one. Hell, I even let off a chuckle. This one, Spo might give the team a day off after that. Everyone in the Heat sideline was all smiles. And then this one, Spo, what about Riles? Yeah, I'm sure Pat liked that. And then this one from McNuggets Hoop. The whole team is this shit going to kickstart our run. Okay, well, we'll see. I have some research to do tonight. We appreciate everybody for listening to the podcast. We'll try to go live a little bit here over the next week. I'm going to be off for a couple of days, though, after the next pod. So these guys will be carrying you forward for that. But again, check out our sponsors, c-harmonstaffing.com, our friend Nelson and his team there. Also, realestateshopfl.com. Good time to look for a house, right? Start of the new year. And, of course, insurancebyLynette.com. Underdog Fantasy, use the code 5. Well, good night, everybody. We'll find out about the Terry Rozier suspension tomorrow.
They're lucky.
Can't say anything bad.